All right, my friends. Welcome to the second um, video of this CSS tutorial series. We'll be talking about syntax and how CSS works. So, what is syntax? What is syntax? What's a syntax? The syntax is a basic structure of a CSS rule. A CSS rule has two main parts, and the first part is called the selector, and the second part is inside the curly braces. You can just take this to be the second part. Second part is the curly brace, the opening curly brace, and the closing curly brace. And inside the curly brace is what they call the property and value. This is a property and this is a value. What is a selector? Selector targets the HTML elements you want to style, while property is the styling attribute you want to change, e.g. color, font, size, while the value is the specific setting for that property, e.g. red, 16 pixels. Alright, we'll be taking some examples on this. So what I need to do at my desktop, I've here I've created CSS folder. You can create a folder if you I believe that you must have downloaded your Visual Studio Code or your text editor for this course. So I'm going to open my folder now, and right here I'm going to type cmd if you're on Windows, and click on enter, and then it will spin up a command prompt. Then in the command prompt you type in code space dot. The code means for VS Code, while the dot means you are telling the computer to open this directory, open VS Code in this directory. That's what you are telling the computer. So I'm just going to say enter, and when I click enter, it's going to spin up uh, my VS Code for me. So we have that. So we are just going to create a file, index, and HTML file, index.html, enter, and I'm just going to take out this 2 from here. So index.html. Now I'm just going to say shift exclamation mark, then you're going to see this particular one. Once you click on enter, it's going to automatically spin up the boiler HTML code, which is the HTML page structure for you. And in this I am going to just run this on my browser by clicking on go live. If you don't have this thing showing on your system, you can simply click on your extensions. We click on extension, search for live server. When you search for live server, you're going to see the extension to download. After installing it, then this is going to come. So I'm just going to click on this, and then it's going to spin up my browser, my default browser on my system. So let's just say we have h1 and then hello world, hello world. So I'm going to see that on my browser. So to style this h1, I'm just going to write the tag inside the head of my browser, inside the head, not the body, but the head, and opening and closing, and then say h1, and then you can say color red. So we see that the text is red. Now let's explain this thing further. We said a CSS rule has two main parts, and the first part is called the selector. And what is a selector? Selector targets the HTML element you want to style. So we want to style this element h1. So the name of this h1 is called a selector. So that's why you have to write it here inside the style tag, this style tag here, to root h1. And then what do we want to do with h1? We want to set an attribute, which is the styling attribute we want to see on that h1. We want to change the color, so the attribute, the property, we say color, and then the value we give it red. So on the browser you can see that that thing was applied to the HTML elements. We'll be talking more on properties and values. If this is overwhelming for you, you just need to calm down. I'm going to explain everything bit and step by step for you. You are going to understand everything perfectly, very, very well. I know right now you'll be wondering, what is color? Where is it coming from? Don't worry, you are going to understand it when we talk about color. But for you, I just want you to understand what is a selector and what is a property and then a value. So a selector is the HTML element itself. That is a selector. So if we write h, for instance, let's say we write h3, I will say this is my h3 element. You can see that no style is applied to the h3 element. Why? Because we did not select it inside our style tag. We only selected h1. But if we have a duplicate of h1, you see that all of them will be, the style rule will be applied to all of them. But if we want to style the h3, we can say h3, we can select it inside the style rule of our element, and then we can say color. We can set the color of our h3 to green, and then we can also set the font size. We can set it to, let's say, uh, uh, 29 pixels. So you can see it becomes bigger. So this is what they call CSS style rule. This is what they call CSS style rule. So how does CSS works? This is how it works. Firstly, when your browser loads your HTML element, and then secondly your browser loads the CSS and applies the style rule of that CSS to your HTML elements. So it works in a sequential way. It first of all loads the HTML and then it loads the CSS to apply the style rules to the HTML elements. All right. So HTML elements, CSS, we can use CSS in three different ways. We in three different ways. Number one is what? We can use it as inline CSS, or we can use it as embedded CSS. And three, we can use it as external CSS. We'll be looking at all these in the next class. All right then guys, see you in the next class. Thanks.